Welcome to ISRA League's Grand Touring Championship, brought to you by Z1 Simwheel, where you can find the Z1 Simwheel LCD display and dashboard software. You can either run this on a external piece of hardware or another computer and get all of these excellent dashboards for your sim rig. Check it out at z1simwheel.com. Well, this is Race 8 of Season 8. This is Race 9, I apologize, at Zolder, the penultimate race, and I'm Daniel Quaroni, and here with Anthony Munoz.
Great to be back with you guys.
And Brian Carey.
Hello, everyone.
Well, the first time at Zolder, obviously, because it's a brand new track at iRacing. Let's look at the standings here as we go towards the end of the championship. Russell Cow and Mike Kelly are fighting it out there. Timothy Stoles looks like he's going to be pretty solid in third. Brent Briles and John Rossettos are tied right now for fourth and fifth. And then a good battle there for sixth and seventh between Brian Carey and... let's go over to Cadillac, actually, as the standings are going by. And James Cullen looks like he's going to take the Cadillac class, but Todd Carver could still fight out a win if he does very well. Colin McLean looks like he'll probably sit pretty in third, and then all the way down, it looks like things are pretty well settled. So obviously the paints are back, so that bug from iRacing is now fixed, and all of our cars look the way they should. In a moment, we'll check out the track map. As I was saying, new map for Zolder, Zolder new map for iRacing. And Brian, take it away. Good luck.
All right, well, I'm not going to say the corner names because obviously you can read them and understand them perfectly, so I'm just going to go through the map here. But this is an older F1 track. It used to hold the Belgian Grand Prix up to 1984 before it switched back to the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Some of the key points on the track here are... the Klein chicane there, turn number 5, one of the few corners I can say, is a very, very difficult corner of a single line, so a lot of action potentially through there. It's a prime passing zone, but very, very difficult to get in there, as you really can't go through there too wide, or at least it's very difficult. Around to the back of the corner there, down the Butte, which is very steeply downhill, and then back to Jackie X corner, as we see the qualifying times.
Yes, indeed. In the Daytona prototype, Russell Cow takes pole with a 123.9, and Mike Kelly follows half a second behind. Jeremy Burris and Carlos Passos are in the second row. John Middleton and Brian Carey in the third. John Rossettos and Gilles Moret on the fourth. And Timothy Stoll and Brent Briles on the fifth.
In Cadillac's, Jamie Cullen qualified on pole with Eduardo Benica only a couple tenths behind him. Todd Carver and Daniel Gralti will take up the second row. Thomas Sockmans and Kenny Coughlin will be on the third. Lauren Bateman and Ryan Huff on the fourth row, with John Kelly and John Kuzlin sharing the fifth row.
Yeah, like I was saying, the track map there, as you can see them coming around the course here. It's a relatively straightforward track. There are some pretty decent elevation changes for a few of the corners. A couple blind corners that are mostly flat out, but especially on cold tires, like this corner here, this is down the Butte. You get a little bit light going over there, so if you're going full throttle and you don't have the car pointed just right, you can get loose and potentially spin out, but definitely lose some time. A lot of these chicanes too, you can see they're on the white curbing on the inside. They look like little speed bumps. Those are very, very bad to run over. There's some of those on the inside of the corner where you can knock your car up in the air, and there's actually a few kind of more circular ones on the outside of particularly corner number 2. I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but basically the end of corner number 2, if you run your car over that, especially in the Daytona prototypes, your suspension will shatter. Like, that's simply put, it will destroy itself and your race will be over. At the very least, your car will be crabbing quite severely, so you want to try to avoid those as much as possible. It looks like there's a lot of curbs, a lot of flat curbs you can run over, but potential, if you catch one of those wrong, to really, really damage the car. So watch out for that. And some cars, you'll make mistakes. You go into a corner a little too fast, and sometimes you just run around the grass. Here, that could be a damaged car and race over, as we're coming up to the green flag.
Yeah, it's a very tight circuit as the cars wind their way around. See a big gap, and we have the battle between Russell Cow and Mike Kelly. Cow gets the better start, and he'll take the lead over the start-finish line. Kelly close behind. Both of those guys got a great jump over the rest of the field as they head through the first corner. The rest of the field files through. Looks like no trouble so far. This is going to be a tough race for multi-class racing because it is going to be pretty tough to pass here. It's a fairly narrow circuit, and with all these chicanes, it's not a lot of corners these Daytona prototypes can use to try and get past. So we'll see how the race pans out as Russell Cal gets a nice lead as they head down towards the first chicane. And we've got a couple guys running a little wide there going through turn 4.
Yeah, turn 4 running wide there. That's not a big deal. I mean, you'll kick up a little bit of dust, get some dirt in the windshield there. But other than that, it's I mean, you can go 2 wheels off on that. It actually provides quite a bit of grip.
And we jump on board with Timothy Stoll, who has dropped down to 9th. He had some sort of issue that we missed
He started
on the opening. Oh, did he start? Oh, apologies, I totally missed that from the start. So this Timothy Stoll going to be starting down farther in the field than he's used to. Normally he qualifies up pretty close to the front of the pack. So it'll be interesting to see how he's able to battle his way up. We know that he is a quick driver.
And that looked like Ryan Huff just getting past Jared Livingston. Man, it didn't look like he put up any fight at all.
Well, Carlos Passo's got it wrong coming out of the final corner there, and it looks like Jeremy Burris has got to run around the outside. We'll see. Doesn't look like he has enough on him, but he's definitely putting Passos under some pressure right now early in the race.
And coming up to the final chicane before the front straight on board Thomas Stockman's, watching how it's done in the Cadillac here.
Yeah, Thomas, having previously been a member of the ISRA GTC series, I think primarily in the Ford GT, kind of showing us the way for a little bit there. It's one of his first races this year in the Cadillac. I think he might have done the Spa race, so just sticking to the Belgian races this year, I guess. I have to admit, it's so nice to get these paints back, as we can see the number 6 of John Kelly here, the more recognizable number 6 of John Kelly, as we go back on board with Gilles Moret.
Yep, and you can see there's a few Daytona prototypes that he is very close to right now. He's got Brian Carey immediately in front of him in 6th position. He's also chasing down John Middleton and Jeremy Burris, and just ahead of him is Carlos Paso. So the Daytona prototypes staying a bit closer together than the Cadillacs have been so far. Right now, the Cadillacs actually fairly spread out. Once you get down to about 8th position or so, they're already pretty far off the leader. So I know that they started back a little bit farther, so if they were in a chicane when the race started, that could slow them up. We got a close battle here between the number 84 Thomas Stockmans, and he is battling with Kenny Coughlin as they head into the, I believe that's turn 8 hairpin, and he gets around on the inside. Nice move.
Yeah, we're going to have to see a lot of close racing, a lot of cars kind of bunched up together. Just the nature of the track. It's a lot of short straights and not really a lot of places for each. The faster cars, I guess, to stretch their legs. But as you noticed on board with Gilles, the high-frequency curves here, kind of much like the side of the highway rumble strips used to wake you up if you start drifting off to the side. So you notice that going through the final set of chicanes, turns 9 and 10.
I should also mention I did a little bit of brain surgery here to the director, so hopefully we'll get slightly better results for this race. You can see Jeremy Burris got a slightly bad exit through the chicane there, and that let Warren Bateman catch right up to him. Not enough to get a pass, but there's really no distance between them now. I'm sorry, Warren Bateman on board with now. Put a name in front of me and I will say it. But Warren Bateman also chasing really close.
That might be just some graphical whatnot, but it looks like a lot of cars are lifting some of their inside wheels off the track going through some of these corners here due to the elevation change. So I don't know if that's just iRacing graphical issues or if that's actually what the cars are experiencing, but just keep an eye on that and see if I can pick it out again.
I guess that's the issue. The graphics of the track and the actual mesh that they use to figure out where the tires make contact are two different meshes, and sometimes they don't line up perfectly, and it looks like the car is either dipping its wheels underneath the surface or floating, as I think you see on some of the corners here.
Okay, I see. It looks like he's hovering down the straightaway there, so
yeah.
That's kind of We talk about how realistic these races are, and when we're watching them here, it's kind of hard to differentiate between real life and the sim racing, but unfortunately today you'll notice it. Yes, notice the sim racing. We are not racing hover cars.
Have some nice lighting effects on this circuit, though.
Although for those of you with Super Nintendos remembering the F-Zero game, hover cars would be pretty sweet.
There's a good example of the high-pitched curbing that they have here as we jumped on board quickly with the Daytona prototype, and we see a lot of the Daytona prototypes battling very closely right now. We're focusing on Brent Browse and his number 72 machine. Just behind is our very own Daniel Qualroni. You've got Timothy Stoll just in front, and just a bit farther up there's John Rossettos and Jules Moret. They're very, very close as well, so some close battles a little bit lower down the Daytona prototype field. Here's Todd Carver. He is still in the championship hunt, and right now he is currently running in third. Oh, and who is that? That is Eduardo Benica.
And he just did that to himself, unfortunately.
So you can see the two championship contenders right there in the same shot, James Cullen and Todd Carver. Both those guys are looking to secure the Cadillac championship. And so Todd Carver looking to beat out his rival, Jules Moret. Meanwhile, in the Daytona prototypes, leading a long train. Just behind him, we have John Rossettos, Timothy Stoll, Brent Browse, and Daniel Qualroni. You can see almost two packs have broken into the Daytona prototypes. We've got kind of the front and then the front half and then the back half led by Jules Moret.
Now, what do you think happened there? Did Eduardo lock up his rears or something under braking?
I think that might have been under acceleration, actually, going through one of these chicanes. I think actually the corner they were just showing there, I think it's turn 8 or turn 7. I think it's turn 7. It's a 3-part chicane, and then it goes turn 8 up the hill there. So I think coming out of turn 7, going into turn 8, he might have just run a little bit wide, got loose, and spun it around into the wall.
And speaking of running a little bit wide, Stoll on Rossettos, and Rossettos went a little bit wide to give enough room, and that cost him the position. Well, really, the position was lost from the inside on a nice pass by Stoll, but an off by Rossettos has cost him, I think, even maybe another spot.
Yep, and back on board with our very own Daniel Qualroni there. He's in 11th right now, battling hard with Rossettos.
When Rossettos getting sideways again, that's going to give Qualroni. Yep, that looks like he'll have the inside going into turn 2, and I'm assuming that it will be the position.
Yeah, Dan and John have had some good battles already this year, and this does not look good.
Well, they're going to go side by side into the turn 5, and they are going to take it in, and everyone seemed to be able to avoid those big speed humps that they have there guarding the chicane, and that was a good pass by Jeremy Burris. He held his ground and was able to take a position, and Brian Carey, he looked like he had a decent run on those guys, but really there's no room for him to go. Definitely don't want to take it 3 wide into one of those chicanes.
Actually, I think Jeremy held that position there, but he's giving it up now because I think he's gone over the curb. And I believe I also used, unfortunately, John's rear wing or his rear bumper there to slow my car down. That's the thing, going through that corner, I mean, going single file, you can take it at a certain speed, but because it's so tight, going too wide, really, it slows you down almost to a stop virtually, and the braking in this car, at least from my point of view. Oh no!
Gets on the power a little bit too hard and plants it right in the wall.
Yeah, just judging by Tim's qualifying back in 9th position, I think he was struggling pretty bad with this track here, and I think that's just the end result of that, trying to push his way back up to the front, and into the wall he goes. I think that's Tim. Yep, there he is. He's out of the race.
This is unfortunate. He had just taken another position, was going to be up running in 7th place, so he was able to pass a couple of cars. Unfortunately, he just made that mistake, and that cost him the race.
One thing I will say to our viewers out there about Tim, his struggling, I can totally relate, because this track here, the Daytona prototype, I tend to use a very similar setup for most tracks that we're at. Maybe a few changes, like minorly to dampers, maybe a wing change for a faster track. But I found that here I needed a totally different philosophy on my setup, because the setup I normally use was just utterly undrivable. So I think Tim probably found into that problem there, because he's normally pretty consistently quick up front and pretty stable. But see that here he was struggling pretty badly.
See, Brent Bryles able to pull onto the back, or the right under the rear wing of Jeremy Burris there as they try to find their way through traffic. Looks like some of the leaders are going to be trying to fight their way through. It'll be interesting to see how the Cadillacs play a part, because like we said earlier, that's pretty difficult track to pass at, so we could definitely see some passes of opportunity done by the Daytona prototypes taking advantage of the slower Cadillac cars that are on the circuit.
Yeah, I think our pit lane reporter is telling us here that Jeremy has in fact damaged his suspension over one of the curbs there, and he's struggling for pace right now, so you see the cars bottling up a little bit behind him, but Brent Bryles next in line. Looks like Daniel Caroni has gone over the hump of death, and hopefully his car is all right, but this is intense.
Somehow I managed to survive that one.
You got around Brent Bryles. I'm not sure what happened to Brent there, if he ran wide or what, but Caroni there, he had a big run on him, got past there, now he's right over Gilles Moret, and has allowed Burris to get ahead a little bit, but I think they're going to close right back up on him, as he seems like he's a little bit off the pace.
John Rossetto's also closing right into the back of Caroni's car, so this is a good three-way battle here. These guys are battling for 7th place in class.
And just out of curiosity, Dan, what kind of brain surgery have you performed on our very reliable race director?
Well, as you can see by your display right now, it says Close Racing Daniel Caroni and John Rossetto's, but John Rossetto's isn't back, and we are not looking at Lauren Bateman's car. So that's one thing I've done. I've also adjusted a little bit of the scoring. Hopefully the end, if there's a close battle, we won't cut away and watch cars finishing quite as much as we used to.
Bryles is in the pits. See the 72 in there in the top corner. Looks like he's taken damage, and that caused that intense racing we saw there, where it looks like Dan, Brent, and Gilles were 3 wide going down the straightaway there. Hey, we're trying to look for Lauren Bateman, and there's Lauren Bateman. Actually looking for him right now. He's battling for he's battling for 7th position with Ricardo Machuca there. This is actually a pretty intense battle there, as he's going down the outside, going into turn 9, the hairpin. Ricardo's got the inside. We'll see if Lauren can do an undercut there and get a run on him, but it doesn't look like he's able to, and Ricardo holds the place.
Also I noticed the Daytona prototype leader, Russell Cow, going to be just behind him. You might be able to catch him in the rear view camera. And it looks like Lauren Bateman, or Ricardo Machuca rather, gets a little squirrely coming under or out of the corner. Luckily able to save it. We're going to jump back down to the pretty close and intense racing in the Daytona prototypes between Gilles Moret, Daniel Caroni, and John Rossetto. So these guys are very close. And it looks like I thought I spotted a bit of damage. It looks like on Gilles Moret's car. I'm not sure if that's actually affecting him. Doesn't seem to be affecting him too much. He's able to put a bit of a gap between himself and Caroni, but it'll be see how that plays out. Maybe hit a curb, having a little bit of suspension trouble.
We'll just call that a French-Canadian aero adjustment there. It's too much trouble to come back into the pits. We'll just do it out on track. Looks like he's running pretty fast though, and Jeremy Burris, who we know has damage, they've got right back up to him, so that's going to close this battle, 4-way battle up. Yep, and they're pretty much nose to tail right now. Yeah, as far as top speeds go, I think I'm not sure, Barber is one of the tracks where you don't really potentially might not even need to use 5th gear, and this is another one of those tracks where I think maybe going into that first chicane you're kind of brushing up on 5th gear, but really it's a kind of a 1st through 4th track.
It's going to be a bit of GT traffic these guys will be catching, so let's see if that influences their battle. These guys seem to be pretty much evenly paced. Jeremy Burris, we pointed out, does have some damage, but he's managed to stay in front of the 3 cars behind him, which we assume don't have any sort of damage. The cars of Caroni and Rossetto seem to be in pretty good shape at the moment. Rossetto seems to have quite a good pace, although it looks like Gilles Moret gets a little bit too wide on corner exit. Daniel Caroni going to be able to pull alongside him, but he's going to be around going into the outside through the corner, not going to be able to make a move there. Also, the Cadillac of John Kelly providing a bit of a obstacle. And where did Quote's going to be again on the outside. He definitely seems like he's going to be able to challenge, but he's going to try and dive on the inside, heading to turn 4, and Moret's still able to hold him off. But Coroni seems to have had a great run through there, just couldn't quite get it done.
Yeah, he's had to check his speed a little bit, so let's see if Jean Rosettos can take advantage of it. I don't think he's close enough to do so, and they're starting to come up to some Cadillac traffic. So, Mike Kelly is on Russell Cow's tail, and Russell Cow is caught in traffic. So this has just closed the battle for the lead right up.
Yeah, like we said, there's not really a whole lot of opportunity to get by, so this is going to allow Mike Kelly to put some heavy pressure on Russell Cow for the lead. It looks like they're getting past Todd Carver right now, currently running in 3rd. Daniel Gralti actually made a pass on him at some point. Oh, and that was Russell Cow getting a little squirrely coming out of the final corner. Was able to maintain his lead, luckily. But Daniel Gralti somehow passed Todd Carver. Unfortunately, we weren't able to see how that happened. But that's a good result for Daniel Gralti so far.
Oh, and Mike Kelly just got cut off severely by one of the Daytona prototypes there. Or no, excuse me, his Daytona prototype got cut off by one of the Cadillacs just up ahead. So he got his run going through turn 2 there, kind of slowed up a bit, and gap has opened up a little bit to Russell Cow, just over a second a game. Well, Gilles Moret has now dropped back. It looks like he's fighting with Marty Jeffries right now. So I didn't see what happened to Gilles, but he has dropped out behind Daniel Coroni and Jean Rosettos. So this is now a battle for 9th position with Marty Jeffries, and it looks like Jerry Mooresdorf is not too far behind them.
And it looks like Marty Jeffries has a decent run. I think he just had to get out of the power there. There wasn't really enough room for him to be able to get by, especially with that Cadillac of John Kelly there as well. And that's just something that you have to sacrifice, unfortunately, when you're trying to make your way through GT traffic.
John Kelly was probably thinking, I have no idea what I need to do here. There's cars coming. There's only one way through this chicane, and I'm going to be the odd man out. So he was trying to... I could see his mind working there, going down the straightaway to see what he's going to do with all those Daytona prototypes coming up on him.
Todd Carver is going to get a nice run coming out of turn 10. It's going to be right on the back of Daniel Gralti. There is, I believe that is John Kuzlin that is just in front of them. He is going to be lapped, so he pulls out of the way as they head into turn 1. But that allowed Todd Carver to catch right onto the back bumper of Daniel Gralti. This is a battle for 2nd place in the Cadillac. As we know, Todd Carver is trying to score as many points as possible to stay in the championship hunt. Right now, James Cullen's still the leader, so that deficit that he has to Cullen is going to increase even more, especially if he can get the 2nd place points.
Now we're back to the battle for the lead for Daytona Prototype. Mike Kelly, after Russell Cow was able to pull out a bit of a lead. Oh, Russell Cow is off. He has cut the chicane, so Mike Kelly has taken the lead. We are now 51 minutes left, and 52 minutes left, I guess, and Mike Kelly has taken the lead for the first time this race.
This is pretty significant because if he's able to finish in 1st place, that should give him the championship lead going into the final race at Laguna Seca.
Or at least tie on points, because we both have blood a lap, and there's a 2-point difference between those positions. So, I mean, it's looking very interesting right now. Hopefully Russell Cow can hold on as far as the championship battle is concerned.
And meanwhile, we go on board. Well, we were on board quickly with Brian Carey as he was trying to chase down John Middleton. Looked like he had a bit of damage on his car. I'm not sure how much that is affecting the overall performance, but he's still able to hold a strong, solid 5th position, and it seems to be doesn't seem to be affecting the pace too much. So he's right now fighting with John Middleton, and those 2 cars are 15 seconds off. That looks like Jeremy Burris that was quite a bit off the pace there. Although he did stay out, so this is going to be Daniel Coroni now fighting to... nearly lost it going into turn 1, manages to hold on, and this is a battle between himself and Burris as they fight their way through GT traffic for 6th place.
I always like riding on board with Daniel because he is the one recording this replay here, and the onboard movements of his steering wheel and the gears are so much smoother than with most onboards. But now we're looking back from Jeremy to Daniel, and Daniel looks like he's got a pretty good run here, so... nope, not enough room. See, that's the thing with those Cadillacs there. I mean, you're only going single file is the way to go. Going 2 wide's hard enough, but when you have a 3rd car in the mix, it's not a lot you can do about that. Cannot make the track wider.
That worked nice right there, didn't it?
Yeah, no, that was sweet. You really get a sense for speed looking from there. I noticed, like I mentioned before in some of the broadcasts, the onboard Daytona prototypes looking forward, you don't really get a sense of speed there. However, that rearward facing camera, you really, I mean, that's not an issue with that camera position. And we have about 8 cars on about 2 feet of track here, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it looks like Kenny Coughlin there in the yellow number 24, and that was Lauren Bateman right there, side by side. Gets on the curbing. I think he got on the grass. Going to have to lose a bit of speed right there on Kenny Coughlin as he was fighting. Looks like there was also John Kuzlin, although he was a lap down that was in the mix. And we'll go back to the fight for... Well, this isn't really the fight for... Oh, it is going to be the fight for now as Mike Kelly goes off in the first chicane. Russell Cow going to see if he can't get by. He does get by, and I wonder if Kelly has any damage. He was dangerously close to the wall.
Yeah, it was pretty close. It looked like he avoided any meaningful damage. These Daytona prototypes, you can scrape the wall sideways and not be too bad. It's the impacting various corners that gets you, so I think he'll probably be all right. But battle switched. Cal back in the lead. And Tim McLeish, and it looks like the number 1 there, Lauren Bateman, with John Kuzla, another CTC machine. Cars going every which way. Tim McLeish doesn't know where to go because, yeah, you really get a feel for how tight this track is. It's in the tightest corner of the track right now, so Tim's really trying to thread a needle there, and it's not quite going in.
Yeah, there was really no room for him to go there at all. I mean, there was Cadillac side by side, and he was trying to chase his nearest rival just in front of him, Jerry Morsdorf. There was just nowhere for him to fit his car. And we'll go to the Cadillac battle here for second place. It's Daniel Gralty currently in front of Todd Carver, and the gap's about the same from the last time we saw them. Todd Carver trying to get by. I'm not sure how Daniel Gralty was able to get by in the first place. That'd be something I wish we saw, but it's a close battle, and Todd Carver trying to see if he can't get another position and score as many points as possible. Another close battle that has championship implications is this battle right here. It's Russell Cow and Mike Kelly. Mike Kelly has to find another way to get back around. First time he was able to get past Russell Cow is because of a mistake that Cow made, and Cow was able to get back because of a mistake that Mike Kelly made. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone was able to pass just based on pure speed.
Yeah, the championship battle as it stands right now with Cal first, Kelly second, stands at 4 points right now. If they finish this way, with Mike Kelly in the lead, it would be all even. So just keep that in mind when you're watching the race there, that you're looking at about a 4-point spread for the championship based on assuming they are either first or second.
And these two drivers have tangled quite a few times this season, as Brian Carey, who we're riding on board with right now, and he's trying to pass John Middleton. And both of these guys, very, very quick drivers, not quite as quick as the two guys that are up in front right now, but these guys are fighting for 4th place. Carlos Passos, meanwhile, the car that both of those guys would like to try and catch up to, is kind of on his own right now. He's got a decent gap between himself and then the cars behind.
Actually, Passos is catching up to the lead battle. He's only about 4 seconds behind right now.
And Daniel Coroni managed to catch up to Jeremy Burris quite a bit, but Burris making it very difficult for him to get past despite the damage. Oh, and there's contact between Kenny Coughlin and Lauren Bateman, and that was just, I think he missed his braking point going into turn 8 and made a bit of contact.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's one of the corners having trouble with turn 9 there. You're going in there and you're coming over a crest down into the braking end to get your, Lauren Bateman rally cross on the inside of the chicane there. I think I'll probably have to slow down for that one. But yeah, it's really just hard to get your braking, and then you have to find your apex. It's really hard to actually see the apex of the corner there. So unfortunate to have that incident, but looks like Kenny is making up another position on Lauren Bateman as he had to slow down. So he is up to 6th position. And Lauren Bateman is coming right back at him, though, so we'll see if Lauren's able to make a pass. It's coming down into that Klein chicane, very, very tight coming down through here, and it's the fastest part of the track, too, is where you reach your highest top speed right about here before you go into braking for this corner. Kenny Coughlin is off the track there. That's Lauren Bateman will take the position back, and it looks like John Kuzland is... Well, no, John Kuzland's a lap down, but... you can theoretically take track position, but not for a position on the race.
Go back to Daniel Coroni, still trying to find a way past Jeremy Burris. Burris been able to hold him off for quite a few laps now, and it seems that Coroni, I'm sure, has more pace, but yeah, you see he gets able to get alongside him there, but it's going to be again on the outside. See if he can't do an undercut going into the next comp. Oh, a little bit of a tap there. Both cars seem to get through okay.
They almost went for the underneath the car cut there. So that's one of the things, you've got to try to get by, because, I mean, Jeremy is struggling a little bit under braking in the corners there, and there's just not a lot of traditional passing areas you can do here, so you really have to kind of force the car hard into a corner and get them right off the exit of the corner. Almost like how you have more go-karting passing, you know, forcing a car wide and getting them right off the exit of the corner, which is not typical for these cars, but that's how we do it. And as you see Ryan Huff there pitting, going around the actual gas station pumps, which I think are a nice touch coming into the pits here. See the podium in the background.
And it's still very close between Ryan Carey and John Middleton as they head across the start-finish line one more time. And like I said, this gap's been pretty much to the once everyone's spread out, this gap has been pretty static. So these guys are fairly evenly paced, and looks like maybe one driver's faster in one section, one's a little bit faster than the other. We'll go back to the battle for second place in Cadillacs. Todd Carver's still trying to chase down. Well, now he's trying to chase down and see if he can't get around Daniel Gralti. Gralti able to open about a second gap or so to him over Todd Carver. And Carver dives in for the pits.
That's one feature of the track, too, that I forgot to mention at the beginning, is because the pit lane is pretty straight ahead off the last chicane, kind of like the, for our F1 fans that remember, the pit entry at Imola there is pretty much flat out, so guys are braking up ahead of you, and you can go in there full speed. What that also does there, as you see, is Todd almost ran into the back of Daniel. Also, if you're following someone who goes in the pits and you're not expecting it, very easy for you to miss your braking point, because a lot of guys will mark their braking off the guy ahead of them, so...
And Carey, a little bit of contact there as they head into turn 8. Very light. Both guys get through without too much of an issue.
I see now I was bracing my braking literally off the back of John's car there, which, again, John, I sincerely apologize. I was struggling very, very badly with my braking in some of these corners. Looks like we're following Kenny Coughlin here as he's trying to... where is he at right now? He's about 3 seconds behind Lauren Bateman, so I didn't show where we're showing him on the screen there. But this is a much more interesting battle. It's Mike Kelly chasing down Russell Cow again for the lead. We've got 42 minutes left here. We are yet to see our first pit stops, but well, I guess we'll go back to that a little bit later.
Yep, it's still Brian Carey trying to chase down John Middleton. Carlos Passos, though, as well, he's extended his lead over these two guys right here, and he's running about 5 seconds, or 4.5 seconds behind Mike Kelly and Russell Kyle. So I think he's made up a little bit of time, but I don't think he's quite going to be fast enough to join that battle, but we'll have to wait and see. Right now we are focusing on Thomas Sockmans, who I believe is making a pass on someone in the pit lane. Yes, it looks like Daniel Gralti has decided to make his, assuming his one and only pit stop.
Yeah, this is these races here, your pit stops. Typically one pit stop for all cars unless of damage and whatnot, but Cadillacs seem to have a little bit more variation in their pit stop times. Whoa, Russell Cow, that was huge. Big wiggle there, and Mike Kelly's got to his outside, but you got to be careful on the outside because there's a curb of death right there. You just went past it, so they're able to miss that, and we'll see if Mike Kelly's able to do anything about this. He's got Kenny Coughlin on the Cadillac, right? There he is, right there. So we're going to see if Kenny has any effect on this, as there's only going to be room for 2 wide there, so Mike's probably not going to be able to do a lot with this, but maybe he'll be able to jump Russell coming off the chicane here.
And it's very close, both of those guys. He was able to stick right with them. So,
I didn't look like he was able to get a run there. I mean, like I say, what you're trying to do here when making a pass, even with traffic or with not, is force a guy to compromise his exit of the corner in such a way, like by the end, you know, force him to take the improper line, whatnot, so you can get a good run out of him right off the exit of the corner, because you're not going to be able to do it under braking in most cases.
And watching, I was going to say we're watching Jerry Morsdorf, but we'll go back to the battle for the lead. It's much more interesting. Mike Kelly's still right under the rear wing, and see if he can't do anything. There's going to be another Cadillac car. Oh, they should be able to get past him before turn 1, so he won't really play much of a factor.
It looked like Lauren was going to give Russell the inside there, and Russell said, no, I'm going outside, and Lauren had to oblige as he was just kind of slowly drifting over to the right there, and then suddenly back to the left, but everyone's all right, and the battle for the lead continues. Still under 0.6 of a second as as you can see someone entering the pits there behind Todd Carver.
It was Daniel Gralty who, he's going to be taking another pit stop for whatever reason. We saw him in the pit lane just a couple lap or two ago.
Pit lane speeding is a possibility.
Could be, yes, because the pit lane speed that you have, where you have to apply the limiter, is a much higher up the or further forward than you think. So it could be a possibility.
Very, very slow pit lane too as Jeremy Briscoe's in here. He has some damage on the car, so we'll see if that's actually going to repair. As you can see here, coming through the chicane here, and then right, see those yellow cones there? That's where it starts. Because this pit lane is so long, sometimes right where he is about now is where the actual pit lane you'd think would start, so that's where you expect the cones to be if you're not ready for it. So sometimes you come out of that chicane there and just gas it to try to get to the line, but the line's right there. So it's definitely caught me out in practice, and it might have caught Dan out in this race. Russell Cow's in the pits, so Mike Kelly has assumed the lead.
There's a bit of a few Cadillacs up here, so it'll be interesting to see if they hold him up enough to allow Russell Cow to have a decent lead after pit stop cycle through.
Very rare to see a guy pit before the pit stop time there, so like normally halfway distance. Something must have gone on, and you notice that I am no longer part of the John Middleton battle here, if you will. I have dropped back due to heavy contact face first with the wall.
The worst kind. And we're watching John Rossetto's, I think, who
Looks
must
like
be
we're
in the
watching
pit
a
lane.
hill, actually.
Oh, no, it was Russell Cow who was sitting behind the hill, and he's going to be exiting in... Well, 6th place at the moment. Of course, pit stops still have to cycle through. We will be watching to see whether or not Mike Kelly is able to jump him in the pit lane, or if there's traffic there that's going to hold him up and allow Russell to retake the lead after pit stop cycle through.
Watch out for Carlos passes too, because like we mentioned before, John Kuzland and Carlos tend to be the drivers who go the furthest on a tank of fuel. And Mike Kelly typically does his pits closer to halfway, just kind of differing preferences and styles and whatnot. There's various benefits for doing both, but Carlos right now 6 seconds behind Mike Kelly, who is right on Russell's tail before the pit stops there. So watch for Mike where he comes in relation to Russell, but also watch where Carlos ends up too, because he looks like he is still within a shot here.
Yep, he's actually dropped about 2 seconds off of Mike Kelly since the last time that we kind of pointed out the gap. So could be up to different. He could have got caught up with traffic, which with the type of circuit that this is, can happen to anyone. You can see Russell Cow. This is actually a battle for position, but it's kind of a full position because Gilles Moret still has to make a pit stop. So Russell Cow is actually being held up right here, even though he's not trying to lap Gilles Moret.
This is very, very beneficial to Mike Kelly because while Cadillacs can hold you up, a Daytona prototype fighting for position is under no obligation to let you through, and has all rights to race them. So being very difficult to... Oh no, that's... wow. That is impressive. I mean, that was going around, and just to let you know, the crash that ended my race was basically a carbon copy of that, except I kept going left, where Russell was able to hold it onto the track. So
that might have had a touch of the 2-foot magic save, or whatever it's called.
What Anthony was referring to is you get into a kind of slide position or whatever, you hammer on the brakes, you stop the rotation of the car because you're going to lock both wheels up.
Brakes and throttle at the same time.
Yes.
100%, yep.
Yeah, because that'll... in real life, I'm not sure exactly how much that works. I'm not sure how many people try that in real life.
Yeah,
it seems
I don't
kind
think
of crazy,
I'd want to, yeah.
Actually, I shouldn't say that because back in my my younger high school days, driving back home, there was a gravel road that led in off the highway to my neighborhood, and got into a few slides there where a slight application of the throttle and hard on the brakes stopped me from rotating around at a relatively high rate of speed. So very, very hard to power slide a properly front-wheel drive Honda Accord.
Got a close battle here between two Cadillacs, and they're not really fighting for position. I see Russell Cow now quite far back behind Jules Moret, so well, of course, we just pointed out what happened and why that is, but that will probably, unless there's a mistake from Mike Kelly, that will probably allow Mike Kelly to pass or stay in front of Carlos Passos and then pass Russell Cow because of the through the pit lane strategy, or however you like to phrase it. So that could be fairly interesting. I'd like to see what the gap is and how much time he's actually going to lose on Mike Kelly.
Alright, well, we're starting to get some of the field spread out a little bit here, so and we're just about... was this a 70 or 75 minute race?
I believe it was a 70.
Okay, let's assume it's a 70, and let's assume we're just past halfway here. Mike Kelly has just entered the pit, so yeah, that would be assumed, because Mike tends to go a lap or so after the halfway point. So let's see where Mike comes out there. You can see up in the top of the screen there, you'll see a number 2 out. Look for that. That'll be when Mike Kelly comes out of the pits, and then hopefully when that happens, we'll cut over to Russell Cow to see where he is. I anticipate, actually, that Russell Cow will probably come out about 5 seconds behind Mike Kelly after this is all said and done. But that also means Carlos Passos, and that's Briles off, and that car has been crushed like a pop can. Rear wing, front of the car, looked like that might be a race-ending contact for Briles. Oh, here we go. We're on board with Russell Cow. We're looking for Mike Kelly to come out of the pits. Mike Kelly is out of the pits, so yeah, Mike Kelly has actually come out ahead of Gilles Moret, and Russell's still behind Gilles, so the gap, it looks like, is actually about
fairly
10 seconds.
Significant.
Yeah, 10 seconds. So that number 2 there, probably a big smile on the helmet in that car, because that's pit stops are down, 10-second lead over his championship rival, and I mean, a lead is definitely better here. 10 seconds, we'll see how that plays out over the next 32.5 minutes. But at the moment, Mike Kelly in a pretty good position to, at the very least, start the championship up. And, Carlos Passos and Ryan Huff get into a quite a synchronized spin there. It looks like there's definitely contact.
And that really dashes any hope that Carlos Passos had of closing the gap between himself and Mike Kelly, as Marty Jeffries has a bit of an incident there through the final corner, because the gap between Passos and Kelly was roughly 6.5 seconds when Kelly decided to hit the pit lane. And with that incident, I'm assuming that Passos, even though he's staying out longer trying to see if he can't run some faster laps, that's going to drop him quite well down the order. Or at least time-wise, anyway.
We got Jeremy Burris there, it looks like, kind of fighting his way through some traffic. That's Dan Gralty in the number 11 Murphy-sponsored Cadillac.
Although, Daniel Coroni now in front of him, so that means that he was able to, I'm assuming, get past in the pit lane. Daniel Coroni having a pretty solid race right now. He's currently running in 6th place, already made his pit stop, so he doesn't have to worry about that, as Carlos Passos spins the car again going through turn number 8, I believe, and that's going to cause him to lose even more time.
Now, unfortunately, we have noticed that a few times with Carlos there, that one mistake or spin or whatnot kind of begets more spins and whatnot in short succession, so hopefully he's able to hold on to the track, and hopefully that didn't damage him too much so he can keep going. But he's still in the lead, he's still 11 seconds ahead, but he's now in the pits, so we'll see where he slots in after this. I don't know if he took any damage in that collision with Ryan Huff,
Mike Kelly hits the curb.
Oh, and Mike, wow, that was not expected. That has opened things up. The top 3 are just, they're trying to give it away right now, it seems like.
Yeah, Passos still in the pits. We're Mike Kelly getting by right about right now. as there changes at first, but he hit the curbing pretty hard, so I'm not sure if that's caused any suspension damage or not. The car seems to be driving okay, and the wheel's fairly straight going into turn number 2. Russell Cow, and the gap has come down quite a bit now, a lot more than what we were expecting. Cow passed Carlos Passos. Passos is currently running in 5th place, still being shown in the pit lane.
Yeah, no, those white curbs on the inside there, I mean, there's potentially can damage the car. Those ones on the inside there are a little different. Those ones could damage the car, the red and white ones. The white ones just tend to knock the car up in the air and spin you out, so Carlos Passos checking the engine to make sure that the high RPM range is working.
Almost like he's got it on a dyno or something.
Yep, I mean, you might as well get some engine testing done if you have to sit in the pits for a little while.
Oh, and I see that Brent Browse is still in the pit lane, so even though he does have some fairly significant damage on his car, after exiting, I believe it was turn 9, and making some heavy contact with the wall, still deciding to get whatever he can repaired and try and finish the race, as Carlos Passos is still...
Oh, he's out.
There we go. I was going to say, was still testing that engine, but looks like he's decided to retire the car.
You can see a nice hill here. It's some, looks like you could use some watering, actually. I don't know what the groundskeepers are here, but a lot of brown patches. A lot of brown patches.
Yeah, the camera angles are a little bit tough at this track.
Yeah, I was noticing
still watching Carlos Passos, who's now moving.
There he is.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of the cameras started off their active sweep looking at nothing, and the one looking at the pits is just one of those unfortunate ones.
Yeah, I was noticing that when I was looking at replays with the regular the TV1, which is your prime camera position there, basically being totally blocked off on the front straightaway by the grandstands, which I thought was kind of a
I moved
odd
that
position
one
for a camera.
So it's above the track basically for this. Yeah, I couldn't understand that. You basically couldn't see anything from down the front straight from TV1. That didn't make any sense to me.
Just out of curiosity too, I know you'd mentioned it before about the mesh over the track and the actual physics mesh that they use to judge where the cars are. Why is that so different here as opposed to other tracks? We don't seem to have nearly the same problem.
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know exactly why it's so different, except that however they, I know how they make it in general. You know, they do a laser scanning with a survey tool, so they get a thousandth of an inch accurate point cloud of the track, and then they use some tools to build that. Oh, as Jill's about to die as from bits. They use a tool to turn that into polygons, and I guess just that somehow during the conversion, they obviously have different needs between the physics track and the graphical track. Obviously, there was a little inaccuracy when that happened, and it's not off by much, but it's visible.
Yeah, it just seemed weird that it was this track in particular. No, I think actually this track here, I just don't know if you noticed, is some of the graphics of the track, the textures, whatnot, do look a little different here than they do at other tracks. I thought it might have been just the lighting of them kind of lighting it, kind of more of an afternoon lighting, as opposed to 1 o'clock middle of the day sort of lighting. But I mean, any number of things. iRacing is always improving and changing and trying new things. So there's that. There's Dan O'Coney there. He's in 5th place right now, but Gilles Moret is still in the pit, so it looks like Dan O'Coney has taken the position there, and that's pit stop's done, and O'Coney is up to 4th position.
Yeah, I believe they mentioned that they were working on some new graphical features with this track. They've been on a charge to improve the graphics quality for the past year or so, and they're doing it incrementally. A lot of new shadows and new techniques to improve frame rates and stuff like that.
I guess it's not going to always work perfectly the first time for anything, but definitely got a few new tracks coming in the pipeline here. So actually today, we are recording this on the 28th, I believe. I noticed they had actually released a top-down graphic of what they've done so far with Interlagos, and it looks like they've got the base of the track down pretty well, so very, very much looking forward to that track.
Oh, they are actually managing to do Interlagos?
Oh yeah, it's they have the full scan there. I mean, like they always have like progress report, the full details, like curbs, graphical things, that nature. But the track is definitely rendered, and it's got all the corners that you're going to be looking for. So
Well, that's great news, because when when they first wanted to go scan it, my understanding was that they got stuck in customs. The survey equipment wouldn't make it through customs, and so they failed on that attempt, and I guess they managed to get back on a second try. But that's excellent news.
Yeah, it turns out they had to, apply to bring in survey equipment to a foreign country, before you arrive, and not when you, show up on the plane, just, with all your crates of whatever. And they're like, what's this? It's like, oh, we're going to take high-resolution pictures of part of your country. And they, I guess, understandably decided that, maybe not so much, no. I mean, for the most part, with the this being a lot of, like, say, England or tracks in United States, Canada, various parts of Europe, probably not an issue up to this point, but first trip down to South America, and you just got to make sure that you follow the proper procedures. But they've done that. That's taken care of. And also note, too, that I haven't seen it yet, but they've got the Montreal Grand Prix circuit there on the Ile Notre Dame there with the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, so that should be coming down the pipeline as well to add to our growing collection of F1 ready tracks. Modern F1 ready tracks, this being a former F1 track that's, we can run F1 on, and we have, but not quite suited for those cars exactly.
And I believe once the Lotus 49 comes out, there's a plan. This is on the schedule, isn't it?
For our league, for the Lotus 49?
I believe so, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm not running that series, so I haven't actually looked at the schedule yet. I didn't want to make myself sad. I really do like the Lotus 49 there. I'm, back from the Grand Prix Legend days, which is the great-grandfather, I guess, of this particular sim. Or grandfather, at least, anyway. I'm not sure how you'd... Yeah, we'll call him grandfather.
Well, I guess I will mention for our viewers that eventually, once iRacing works out the physics kink in their Lotus 49, it will be released, and ISRA has a series planned for that. It'll be taking place on Sunday mornings. Race will start at 9 a.m. Eastern, and I'll, of course, be live streaming that from on board, and it should be pretty exciting.
I was here. You can see the action on the track has kind of settled down a little bit there. But yeah, no, that's one of the cars, in particular the 1967 Formula One season where Grand Prix Legends was based off of, that really made me think about what sim racing was capable of. Because up to that point, it had IndyCar racing and Grand Prix 2, which was a Microprose Jeff Crammond simulation, and those were all very good. And they had their their good points and their bad points, but it wasn't until Grand Prix Legend came out that you realize that, you know what, you can do this on a home computer and you can make it pretty realistic. And that was 1998 when that came out, and that physics engine, for the most part, or at least the brainchild of the physics engine, is rolling its way through to iRacing here, and they've been improving it over the years, and this is the result up to now. And as you can see, those graphical problems aside, where you get the brief hovercarring, it is quite the simulation. We talk a lot about it before, but this is iRacing is really at the pinnacle of home simulations for everyone outside of Formula One teams that run their own detailed simulation rigs. I'll be honest too, I don't know how many people who have run iRacing have run those F1 sim rigs, but I suspect that they're the amount of immersion, and aside from the actual cockpit and the technology involved in the switches and whatnot, how much more realistic their simulation is compared to what we're able to do here. I suspect it's not as wide as people might think.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I'm also something of a flight simulator buff, and if you've looked at the professional, huge motion training cockpits that are used for like the 7X series, 737, 767, etc., the graphics in those are actually quite a bit lower fidelity than you'll get in, the now defunct Microsoft Flight Simulator or X-Plane.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, me knowing a little bit about flight simulators as well, actually having one of my one of my wife's colleagues, her husband's a 777 777 pilot for Air Canada, and the simulators themselves, I mean, they do the motion, they get the idea, but they're really about procedures and check. You really there is no substitute, especially an airplane, for your butt in the seat sort of feel. And I mean, sim racing actually, because of the limitations of being stuck to the ground and whatnot, is actually, I think, probably able to get closer. And as you see from Dan's onboard broadcast there over his shoulder with his triple screens and his sim experience race seat, that you are able to get in your home for, I'll say, a reasonable price. I mean, there's Marty Jeffries has lost a position to Tim McLeish there, so that's actually our first battle for a position in a while. Notice there is Jeffries, or Tim McLeish has gone past Jeffries, but Jeffries will try to get it back. But like I was saying, is the sim racing at home, you're able to get, the percentage of realism, we'll call it, as close as you can get to realism, much closer here in iRacing than any flight simulators on the market, or even, I would say, professional flight simulators in some cases. That being said, I would definitely not say no to a chance to jump into a professional 777 full-on flight training simulator there.
Well, just back to some of the gaps that we've been kind of keeping an eye on. Mike Kelly, currently the leader for Daytona Prototypes. We know that there is a bit of drama up of the field. And Jeremy Burris gets out of shape going through the Turn 5 chicane there and hits those curves. Going to lose quite a bit of time as he tries to recover that and get back on the circuit.
Yeah, he was 40 seconds behind John Rosettos, or 35 seconds behind John Rosettos, and about a minute 15 ahead of Tim McLeish. So he's really in that safe zone. Obviously, I won't want to hit anything, but I think Jeremy's pretty safe there.
Yep, the gap between Mike Kelly and Russell Cobb right now about 9.5 seconds after all of their drama has settled down. Those guys have been laying down some fairly consistent laps. John Middleton now takes third place after Carlos Passos had a few spins and incidents with other cars on the circuit. So John Middleton having a great race. Daniel Coroni also having a great race, currently running in fourth place, quite a ways back behind John Middleton for the third place position, but he's also having a great race right now. Jules Murat running fifth, and he is about close to 3 seconds behind the fourth car of Daniel Coroni. In the Cadillacs, James Cullen's still the leader, and he has a fairly large margin over Todd Carver of about close to 21 seconds. Thomas Stockman's in third place with a gap between himself and Carver of 13 seconds. Eduardo Benica, 3 seconds behind Stockman's after having some early dramas in the race. And Lauren Bateman running in fifth place right now, about 17 seconds behind Benica. But here's a battle developing right on screen right now. It's Daniel Gralti chasing down Lauren Bateman. This is for fifth place position. We know that Gralti had a great spot in the class earlier in the race. He had found his way all the way up to second place, but took 2 pit stops. Not sure why or what the reason was for that, unfortunately, but he's trying to fight his way back and get into a top 5 position.
I think this is our closest battle on the track here, as Marty Jeffries is trying to run back down Tim McLeish. They're pretty close on track before, allowing a mistake by Jeffries allowed Tim to get by, but Marty's trying to get right back at him right now. So we got about 17 minutes left, so there's still a chance for stuff to happen here. I mean, in top 10 position is nothing to sneeze at, so Marty will be hustling that car pretty good to try to get ahead of Tim.
And also, here's a close battle that we've kind of overlooked. It's Ryan Huff trying to hold off John Kelly, and Kelly only about 0.8 of a second behind. And this is for 8th place rather in the Cadillac class. These guys have a long 45 seconds up to the next car, so this is really the highest that they are going to get up the field. And John Kelly going to be looking to try and gain one more spot, while Ryan Huff tries to hold off and get a 8th spot in the class.
I'm just looking around the orders here to see if kind of figure out the championship implications right now, but I just mentioned before, as it stands right now, Daytona Prototype, if we were to finish like this, Mike Kelly first, Russell Cow second, they'd be tied on points going into the final race there. I think Russell might have the advantage on race wins, but actually I'm not even sure about that, to be honest with you. I think Mike is up there as well. Both won a few races. James Cullen is going to extend his points lead over Todd Carver, but at the moment, with Todd in second, not enough to clinch it going into the final race there. Todd will still have a chance, assuming any problems happen with James. And I should point out that a couple seasons ago in the Ford GT, Todd had a relatively safe lead over James going into the final race. All he had to do was finish in the I think top 4 or 5, and he finished one place below that, which was several places out where he would characteristically have finished. So, and James ended up winning that race. So, anything can still happen there over in the Cadillacs, but definitely wide open in the Daytona Prototypes.
Marty Jeffries able to pull right onto the rear wing of Tim McLeish as he got held up behind a Cadillac going through turn 4, and that is a pretty high-speed corner, although you saw the Cadillac applying some brakes. I'm not sure if the Daytona Prototypes have to. If they do, it's probably fairly light, and that cost him quite a bit of time, although it looks like Tim McLeish might have a bit more pace than Jeffries. He's able to put a bit of a gap between them as they head into the turn 8 hairpin. Although, as I say, that gets a little out of shape coming out of the corner. Runs wide, keeps it on the track, though, but that's going to allow Jeffries to close back up and indeed gets a much better exit and is able to pass as they head into the final chicane. So Tim McLeish back down to 10th. Let's see if he can't try and fight his way back.
Now, Gilles Moret, I was noticing this just in the screen just now, has run down Daniel Crony there, and you can see the gap right now. I don't need to tell you, it is right there. You can see the Kayak ISRA rear bumper there, and Gilles Moret is trying to get a closer look, and if not, go past right now. So we'll see here. I think Gilles might have fresher tires than Daniel right now, so look for that to be a factor. But yeah, this is a top 4 position we're battling over right now, so definitely a lot on the line. And I think these guys too are both in a points battle there. There's a pretty big log jam there from 4th down to about 8th or 9th in the Daytona Prototype standings, all within about 10 points of each other. So a couple races, good finishes could swing that swing your position up or down, 3 or 4 positions. So both these guys want to try to get as good a result as possible. Also want to mention too, I remember when Anthony was talking back about John Middleton running in 3rd place down the Daytona Prototype. I'm very relieved that I did not crunch his car, because I definitely ran into the back of it a couple times there. So looks like he's able to maintain speed. He's about 20 seconds behind the leader right now, and in a pretty about 45 seconds on this battle here. So if he's able to keep that car in one piece and on the track, pretty solid podium for Mr. Middleton.
We see Quaroni able to put a bit of a gap between himself and Moret there as they head into, they got into turn 8. Notice a couple turns going into the hairpins that Moret was much, much better under braking. You can see he is able to close up a good chunk of that gap between them right there, but there's a couple sectors, I guess it would be the middle sector, that Daniel seems to be quite a bit faster than him. He's able to maintain a gap. We'll jump back to the battle between Marty Jeffries and Tim McLeish. This is a battle for 9th place, and it looks like Jeffries might have got a little held up there by the Cadillac I believe that is Daniel Gralty, although it doesn't seem to affect him too much. The gap is still fairly significant. Tim McLeish not putting any immediate pressure on his competitor in front. We'll jump back to Quaroni and Moret and see what Moret can do.
Yeah, you mentioned that the difference in sector speeds, and I was noticing that during the race that just would catch up to me in one portion, but then I would pull way out in another one. It made it very exciting and tough to tell exactly how things were going to fall out.
Yeah, you can see here, like I did say, the second part of the track here is a lot of the chicanes in the second half of the track, a lot of the sharper corners. So we come into the hairpin here, followed by the final corner, which is the chicane, whereas the first 4 corners are pretty sweeping. So different kind of car setups would definitely benefit either one of those corner combinations. and driving style for that matter, I would say. I definitely do not prefer the chicanes. I am not a chicane. I mean, I do all right. I figure it out, but it's not something that it's easy for my racing brain to comprehend.
Seems to me that Jules Muret is much better under braking, but he's not able to get off the corner quite as well as Daniel Coroni is able to. You see that as they headed into turn one, there's a fairly sizable gap, and you come off a slow chicane there in the final corner as Muret gets held up even more by a Cadillac as they head through turn four. It's going to cost him quite a bit of distance between himself and Coroni, but just watching what we've seen so far of the battle between those two guys, Muret seems to be able to pull up quite a bit under braking, and then as they head out of the slow corners, looks like Daniel Coroni able to pull a kind of edge his way out in front of Muret as they head out of the slow corners.
Yeah, I just remember noticing there is Gilles got held up pretty badly by Kenny Coughlin there, and that's one of those things where we got about 10 minutes left in the race, and Kenny's about he's about 15 seconds on either side of anyone, really running by himself. I mean, 7th position behind Dan Gralty and well ahead of Ryan Huff. So these guys are battling hard for 4th position. So it's kind of unfortunate that he got in the way there. But that being said, going through some of those corners there, I know it's difficult in the Daytona prototype. If you're struggling with the car a little bit there, you're really just holding on and hoping to keep the car on the track and then worry about the rest later. So looks like Gilles didn't lose that much time, and it looks like the battle can continue for the remaining 9 minutes.
Oh, there's a car off in front.
Looks like Rosetto's, I think. It was blue and white, so...
Yeah, I think I caught... Yeah, it is. Okay, yep. So Rosetto's is off, but he is down in 8th, so not a factor in these guys' battles.
And I'm sure he's happy that Dan kind of tweaked the director to be able to show him a little bit more on track, so that is good. Granted, I would like to point out too, and maybe if that works a little bit better, he had just changed his number for the upcoming ISRA season to go away from the 01 for that very reason. So we can be, I guess, the director can be confident that he can start making those calls a little bit better. Then perhaps let John go back to his traditional 01, but.
Yeah, it's really up to him. Basically, the camera still can't point at him.
Holy Tim McFlynn!
That was
Wow.
close.
He carried about 30 kilometers an hour more into that corner than I think he could have got through with. So,
and he was lucky not to have Eduardo Benica run into him as he made that full loop around in the chicane. And Benica's running in 4th place, having a fairly solid race, and that could have been disastrous. So good job to avoid any contact there with another car.
Yeah, Eduardo, the brown streak of death around that corner there. Probably not expecting to go to the other side of that one, but luckily everything's all in one piece, so everyone's moving along.
It can still not point at him, so what I've made it do is if there's any event, for example, if he goes slow, if he's in the pits, it will never try to focus on him, and if he's close racing, that's about all it'll look at him for, and it'll look at the other car. Now, of course, that trick doesn't work if both cars start with a 0, but I don't think we have anyone else doing that at the moment.
No, I think Mark Payne is the only other car that regularly runs with the 09. However, he's in a different class, or was in a different class than John, so I don't think that'll be a issue there. In the upcoming season, I'm trying to think if anyone's run a 0 car, and I think we actually, I don't think we actually have anyone that does that anymore, so...
And actually, just pointing out in the battle between Daniel Coroni and Jules Muret, the gap has opened up to about 5 seconds or so between Coroni and Muret, so I'm assuming some sort of little incident happened for Jules Muret, and he was unable to, or he dropped the distance between them. So this is the closest battle, really, that we have on track, and that's John Kelly. He's trying to chase down Ryan Huff, and he's got about 2.5 seconds or so before he actually gets up there, and with only about just over 6 minutes left, it's going to be quite a feat if he's able to get up and then get past with such few little amount of time left.
Is that Fuzzy's vodka on the side of that car there? I believe that is.
Kind of looked like it. I could couldn't quite catch it, but it looked like, yeah, I think you might be right.
I was going to make some comment about an IndyCar driver running that livery, but don't really feel like running over anyone right now unnecessarily, so I won't say anything else. If anyone has ever seen the series on NBC Sports IndyCar 36, they may know what I'm talking about, but in the meantime, back to our race here, and John Kelly just kind of plugging along there. He's got Ryan Hoff up ahead the road. A 3-second gap right now, I think, is the closest battle on the track. So let's follow John around here. I do like the car that John has right now. It's pretty sharp design. I like the American flag on top there. I think with a similar design to Dan Gralti, but I can't be quite sure with that. Looks like he's got an Irish flag on the side of that as well.
Ooh, and has a bit of an issue going into the turn 5 chicane, unfortunately, and that's going to drop him even more behind Ryan Huff. That gives opens up about 4 seconds or so right now. And take a look at the leader, Mike Kelly, in Daytona Prototypes. Currently has about 10 seconds over Russell Cowell, so quite comfortable with only 4 minutes left in the race. Really under no threat, and just has to bring it home to take the win.
Those are always famous last words, so hopefully Mike can hold on for that. But it does look like he has things relatively in control here. He's not going to push too hard with some of the back markers here. His compatriot in name, John Kelly, just up ahead of him. So Alright, well, after the excitement of the first 3 quarters of the race here, things have settled down quite substantially for the close of business here. I got 3.5 minutes left, which will equate till, let's see when Mike comes across the line here, but that's just going to be 3 more laps for everyone, so. Yeah, this is a relatively short lap here.
Yeah, the average lap time for the leaders, anyways, right now is roughly 1 minute 27 for the Daytona Prototypes, that is. So there looks like we're looking at 3 more laps, like Brian said, and then Mike Kelly will officially have tied Russell Cowell for the championship as long as he can bring it home. Makes for a exciting last race at Laguna Seca.
It does indeed, and that's kind of one thing that we missed the last couple of years is the championship last season. I think. Oh no, that's Burris. That's Burris.
For half a second there, I thought that was Mike Kelly.
That is definitely Jeremy Burris, and that right side of the car has been let's get the bodywork tucked in a little bit there, get better aerodynamic flow. But he was already a lap down on Jerry Morsdorf, but looks like Jean Rosettos has taken the position, and I don't know if Marty Jeffries and Tim McLeish will be able to get the position here, but I think that's going to drop Jeremy Burris down to 10th position, as that car is not going anywhere in a straight line.
That suspension looks to be totally broken.
That's a heartbreaker for Jeremy. I mean, he wasn't on line for a lot of points, but it's always good at the end of a long race to get to the end. And actually, for those, when we ran our Grand Prix Championship race here a few weeks ago, I had a pretty solid 3rd place. In fact, I had 3rd place locked up going to the last lap because the car behind me was already lapped. And on turn 4 there, I decided, hey, why not spin it heavily into the wall?
Hey, and the gap between Daniel Coroni and Gilles Moret has closed up a little bit. These guys are technically fighting for 4th, although there isn't all that much time left for Moret to make a move, but the gap has dropped to about, under 2 seconds now.
Well, and actually as I was going through this corner here, whatever, it reminded me that the official name of the race on our servers was the Gilles Villeneuve Memorial Race here, which struck me as a little ominous, but this is unfortunately, those who remember in 1982 where Gilles Villeneuve lost his life in a battle in qualifying there, trying to wrestle pole position from his teammate and rival Didier Pironi there. Came across Jochen Mass coming down the turn 6 there, and miscommunication led to some contact, and unfortunately it was ended in Gilles losing his life there. But Gilles Moret now, our own ISRA Gilles French-Canadian there, is still pushing hard. He's got the gap down to under 2 seconds now, but only with 1 lap left. I don't think he's going to have enough time to do it on his own. He'll need some help from traffic or a mistake from Daniel Croney.
And there are a couple Cadillacs up in front, and Coironi will have to battle with at least one of them, although John Kelly decided to, rather on purpose or not, decides to spin, although it looks like it cost
that's actually everything Gilles needed.
Yeah,
Gilles is right on his tail, and I mean, this is going to be in a position now where final lap, anything can happen right now. I mean, Mike Kelly looks like he's going to take the win, and Russell Cow second, but John Middleton third for that matter. But fourth position, we don't know yet, as you got a few corners, and this will probably be Gilles' best opportunity for a pass outright going to this corner here, but he's not close enough. So he's got one more corner left. We've got corner 10. There is a Cadillac up ahead. So Gilles' hope here, he's not going to go into the corner passing him, but if he can compromise Dan's exit through the corner with this Cadillac, he might be able to get him come off and make a run to the line. Dan braking early to get a good run off the corner, and that settled it.
Yep.
Gilles, too much curb. He had to go be aggressive. He had to go aggressive, and he wasn't able to do it. So that's your race right there. We still have a white flag up, so I don't know what's... I think the race should be over, but
there it is.
Oh, so you know what? That looks like Gilles and Dan have another lap left as Mike Kelly takes the win.
And Russell Cow finishing in second place, 10 seconds behind Mike Kelly. Tough race for him. He's actually a lot of the pretty much a tough race for everyone, and looks like in fact now that everyone has crossed the finish line, the battle between Daniel Coironi and Gilles Moret is in fact over. Daniel Coironi taking the fourth place over Gilles Moret. It was a close battle, and it really ended up coming down right to the wire, even though we didn't quite expect it. And good finish for both of them. The number 42 of Marty Jeffries takes 6th place, and the 01 of John Rosettos will take 7th.
Now, Dan, did you guys cut back to Mike crossing the line there? Because that seemed almost out of order. I didn't think you guys had enough time to get around to the line after Mike had crossed.
No, that was in order. I mean, as it happened in the race. Yeah, for whatever reason, I guess. How did that happen?
Regardless, we have Mike Kelly winning the race, Russell Cow second, John Middleton third, Coironi fourth, and Gilles Moret fifth.
And as we alluded to, a tie for first between Russell Cow and Mike Kelly, and that's going to be an exciting championship finale at Laguna Seca next race.
Look at 7.
We've got June Rosettos, Jerry Morsdorf, and Burt Riles, and then over here in Cadillacs, James Cullen doesn't have it clinched quite yet. Bad performance by him and a good run by Todd Carver could have the win for Todd. So it'll be an exciting last race, I'd say. And then I guess we've pretty much got pairings all the way down. So some spots definitely up for grabs.
Yeah, and as you know, Sarah, as I mentioned, position 7 of the Daytona Prototype, Dan takes a 1-point lead in the Commentator Cup. Got one race left, so we'll see how that finishes out. So seeing myself 100 points down does not feel good.
Well, as it happens, for those of you watching, we all here are about to record the commentary for the last race, and here's the schedule. Laguna Seca happened on October 15th, so we are going to sign off from this race And very shortly, if you guys are subscribed to my channel, you should be seeing 2 videos go up almost at the same time. And so we will see you in just a few.